I'm going to be first place and I'm going to beat this person. I'm going to beat that person. For some, it's a really powerful motivator. Power to them. Awesome. For me, it's not because it really takes away what I can do today that will lead me to.
And welcome everybody to this new episode with Astrid, your APD, your dietitian with T, no C. And I am honored and I'm very excited to have a guest that I've been looking forward to have on for a while. JJ, I am really, really keen to know more about who JJ is. Why do you do what you do? And what is your story? Like, what has gotten you since you decided to start bodybuilding, just even deciding to go into fitness? What
Mhm.
took you there and now all the way to who you are now?
Well, first of all, Astrid, thank you so much for having me on. It's a great honor. You have some phenomenal guests. One that I have in mind is John Jewett. So thank you very much for that. It's really appreciated. And I would say that born in Montreal, hockey is a legion, right? Montreal Canadiens. And so very young as a kid, it was kind of the family thing. Every Saturday night, we would watch hockey. So did a lot of that as a kid until the age of 18. And to make a long story short, around age 14 or age 15, I was getting up in rank because of, group of age. And in the category I was in, body check were allowed. And my dad was really scared. He was like, you're too small. You need to build on muscle tissue. And so he brought me to a old bodybuilding gym in the town I was. And I just started to work out. Looking back, it was nothing was hockey specialized. It was like truly bodybuilding type of workout, but it hit me. And in one summer, I gained like 20 pounds. I grew up like 4 inches. And I remember coming back after the school break, and kids were like, who's this guy? What happened? Anyway, to make a long story short, it really started, my love for bodybuilding really started early. And in those years, I would say around like 19 or 20, there were some maybe troublesome years, so to speak. And the one thing that was making me feel really good about myself was that 1 hour or 90 minutes I was in the gym, lifting weights, being with my friends, getting that rush of endorphins, getting the pump. At that time was something really, really helpful. And to the point that I realized, wow, the feeling that I'm getting in the gym, outside of the gym for those couple hours after, I want to share that with other people, right? And so from that on, it became really clear that I realized that it was a passion and it's something that I wanted to share with others. And so I applied to work in first gym in my local community. And that's back in year 2000. I was 20 or 21 at that time. So started to do some personal training. And anyway, fast forwarding now to 2007, I was working on my own as a coach, as a trainer, and my mentor at the time was getting a team of athletes ready for a bodybuilding competition. And I remember all this team of athletes, I think there were like 10 athletes, they entered the gym on that day and they were starting to pose and do. And I was like, I asked him, hey, could I do that? First thing he said, lift your t-shirt up. We'll see if you could get into it. Lift it up. He's like, yeah, you got to be six-pack ready. You'll be good. 9 weeks. You'll be ready. I got the most, I don't want to say terrible diet, but super aggressive diet to be ready. But I just, it hit me, got the bug. And as a reference, I've always loved I don't know if you're into wrestling, Astrid, but the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, like those WWF bigger than life character. I was in the Sylvester Stallone, Arnold in the 80s. So physiques and everything, I've always been passionate without really knowing it as a kid. So bodybuilding was kind of a way to kind of live that dream, so to speak, which I did. And the year after, 2008, I had my first team of athletes, 3 athletes. Yeah, since then, I've just been, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So it's that eternal, I want to know more, I want to know more, I want to know more, I want to know more. And which leads up to today in 2025, where super proud, great team of athletes that I'm working with, still competing as well, age of 44. And it's yeah, passion of life. Hopefully I didn't go too much left and right, but that's, in a nutshell, that's my story.
That's awesome. And I think one thing that I want to know more about you is, yes, you mentioned that you are not just an athlete, but you also coach. So
Yes.
you walk the path,
Mhm.
you know what it feels like competing, being an athlete, and you can empathize and connect with your client as well. Now, you're
Yes.
competing this year. What makes you
Yes.
decide you want to compete this year in December 6th?
Actually, little plug, December 6th is the show that I organized in Mexico for FMG, Fitness, Model, and Glamour. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we had our first show last year, November 16th in Playa. So that will be the show that I'll be promoting and organizing. The show I'll be doing is FMG Worlds from September 11th to September 14th in Australia. So we'll be flying there. So yeah, so that's gonna be the show. And the reason why I want to do this show in particular is because the last show I did was back in August 2023. I just feel it is the right time from an improvement standpoint to know that the next time that I'll be stepping on stage, I'll be able to bring something different, right? As competitors, we like placing is important for sure, but I think that was I able to improve is also something like really important for us. And I do feel that 2025 will be a great time to show that those improvements to the world. So
Why FMG? I'm very interested to know, among so many different federations, what attracted you to FMG, which has a different name now to what it was before. And
mhm.
you are one of the biggest organizers in Mexico. Why Mexico? No, not in Montreal where you were born. What is the story around that?
Yeah, okay. So FMG is a new brand that started December 2023 in Australia. WBFF, with who I competed for, the longest time since 2011, they're still a brand. They're still running. So FMG is something different. So to give you the answer why FMG, I know personally as a male athlete, I just feel that the presentation on stage that we display really speaks to me. So if we look at the presentation itself, there's different parts to it. So you have your T-walk, walking to the front of the stage, doing some of your favorite poses, walking to the right, walking to the left, walking back. That showmanship portion, so to speak, really speaks to me. In the judging itself, we have 2 different rounds. It's quarter turn based, so facing the front, facing the side, facing the back, other side, facing the front. But the first part is more kind of freestyle posing, so to speak. So facing the front, you're going to choose the poses that highlight your physiques the best. Same for the side, the back, and the other side. And then the second round, which is a new introduction. Actually, we started to introduce that at the Mexico show. We will go with more mandatory type poses. So front double bicep, side chest, rear lat spread, rear double bicep, most muscular. So the bodybuilder in me is like, wow, okay, that's going to be fun. I did these poses. The last time I did these poses on stage were back in 2008. That was the last competition where I did more traditional type of bodybuilding. I've always been on the fitness or muscle model side with FMG. I'm a men's physique athlete. So the combination of it all really spoke highly to me. And why not Montreal? I love Montreal, born and raised in the suburb of Montreal. But my wife Michelle and I moved to Mexico Christmas 2016, actually December 2016. Our life is really here. I don't know if you had the opportunity to come to Tulum, but we have the Tulum Jungle Gym, super famous with like all the dumbbell Flintstone weights that people love to take picture with. So we have that. Like the fitness scene is amazing, and it's just it's our home now, and we feel that Mexico. I think it's a great place for FMG, especially Playa, Cancun. There's Tulum. There's a big fitness scene here, and so yeah, that's the reason why.
I want to know, you mentioned that you started competing just directly and all the time in FMD, or have you competed in other divisions,
I love that.
federations?
Mhm. That's a great question. So when I started back in 2007, the first, I guess, warm-up show that I had. So if you remember at first, my coach said, yeah, you have 9 weeks to be ready. But he put a kind of a warm-up show 6 weeks after the first meeting that we had. And you could say it's the equivalent of the IFBB, but a regional show in the province of Quebec. So that was my very first warm-up show that I did as I was getting ready to compete with the Federation Fame. They were, I guess, allied or partnered with Musclemania. Musclemania still exists, it's still running big. So Fame was, I don't want to say a division, but they were kind of partner with Natural Bodybuilding. So that was my first show in 2007. I competed with them for 2 years, won my pro card with them as a muscle model. And then after that, transitioned out to a federation called IDFA, International Drug-Free Athletics, back in 2010. And actually, those are the last time, 2011, that I competed as a bodybuilder, won my pro card with them. The first show I did with them, I got destroyed as a pro. And reason why, I was the youngest, right? So I was maybe 27, 28 at that time. And I was going against guys that were like 35, 36, 39, 40 years old. So all those years, all that slab of muscles that they had on me, I look at photos and I'm like, wow, that was a really good eye open. It was a great experience, but it was a great eye opening experience. And that summer in 2011, I competed with WBFF. My wife Michelle wanted to compete with them. I said, you know what? Yeah, let's do it together. Won my pro card. My first show I was lucky enough to got awarded with a pro card, and I competed with WBFF from 2011 to 2023 was my last competition with them, and now with FMG.
That's awesome. What do you think, like looking back
Yes.
as a competitor, what do you wish you had known when you first started competing that you would have like if you would have known when you started, what would that be? Mistakes you did,
Yes.
something that you
Yeah.
think you could have done better?
100%. The commitment in my off season or improvement season was not great. Let's just be real. Even though from a coaching standpoint, something that was really important that I wanted to make sure to share with my athletes, but I thought that, you know what? I don't know why for me, ego thing, training alone will do will do a big part of it. I was training hard, but I would say that my nutrition was not necessarily backing up the improvements that I wanted to make. And it's when I moved actually in Mexico, I did a show in 2016. We moved here. We didn't compete for 2017. And I was much more pedantic with my nutrition, especially in the off season. And the changes that I was able to make for my comeback, so to speak, in 2018 were mind blowing from a physique standpoint. And I remember my wife, Michelle, saying, Jay, told you so. And so looking back, there's a couple of years for sure that being much more consistent and dedicated would have bring about better results, right? So my execution for contest prep was always been really good, but for that off-season piece, I think I could have done better for sure in retrospect.
Do you feel like mindset has been a big difference, has made a big difference in how you approach your every prep and your life outside prep?
100%. I would say that there's a goal, let's say December 6th, right? That's show day. Then when you start to reverse engineer, you're like, okay, probably it's going to take me, for example, 6 months, more or less, go to the transition phase, getting ready for the show. And then if you start to do your mapping a year away from that, you realize that, oh, I got 6 months of improvement to make. And I feel that when you're looking at it that way, it brings a little bit more urgency, especially when you have the mindset that you want to bring something different. And you want to feel that when you do start the transition phase where, well, the majority of the improvement will have been done before, so to speak, then you don't want to get there and tell yourself, oh man, I should have not missed my meal. I should have been more diligent with my progressive overload. I should have been more diligent in the way I organized meal prep, etc. And I do feel that when you do create that urgency, you can go back as far as a year or a year and a half back, and there's much more purpose with the actions that you have to do today. So, and I feel it's a concept that you can apply also in business, right? You're starting a new coaching business. Okay, you see yourself in 1 year, this spot. Okay, when you look back, what are the milestones? What are the things that you need to do to be able to get to that step, right? Let's say there's 10 different steps that you need to do. Well, you have to start with step number one, because if you don't do step number one, you won't get to step number two. And if you don't get to step number two and you stay there, in a year from now, you're going to look back and say, I'm still at step number two. So then I feel that it brings urgency to keep doing what needs to be done to get to your ultimate goal.
I love that. And I think there is it's such a big importance, the attention you can pay to the mindset. And how do you personally manage that mental side of prep, knowing that external factors that are completely out of your control? Like you can do the best you can, but there's always that unknown that can always affect, or that you really want to overcome them, but sometimes it just feels like this is just heavy on your shoulders or just pulling you backwards. And also, like when you go to your show day, you don't even
Yeah,
know who is going to show up on the day. So all
I
the
agree.
work you've done, you have no idea if what you did was good enough until you actually compete.
100%. I love that question. And I'll start by saying that the worst show that I had and the worst prep actually that I had were the times where I would focus on who would show up, right? And let's say with WBFF, after 11, 12 years, you kind of know the pool of athletes that you'll be competing against, right? And every time I would set myself on, oh, this person will be competing, this person will be competing, this person will be competing, it would really take power away from, okay, they'll be competing. You know that they're gonna do well, probably. But it was taking power away of what can I do today to be the best that I can be. And that overwhelming feeling of it's never enough, it's never enough, it's never enough, plus the calorie deficit, plus the life keeps going on, it just multiplies and multiplies and multiplies until show day where you're like, I just want this to be done personally. Those times, that's how I felt. So kind of stepping away from the process of getting ready for a show hasn't been a friend for me. And for the record, some people winning and I'm going to be first place and I'm going to beat this person, I'm going to beat that person. For some, it's a really powerful motivator. Power to them. Awesome. For me, it's not because it really takes away, again, what I can do today that will lead me to a better tomorrow in the process of getting ready. And I love the adage, it's Hunter Labrada. I love to say, winning the day, win the day. So you wake up, you have your steps to do, you have to do your meal prep, you have to go train, you have to do all the things that you need to do like in your day. And then there's life. And from there, okay, every day is a game to no matter what's going to be thrown at you, to be able to do what needs to be done that will lead you to your goal, which is being freaking awesome on stage. And I feel that this way, it's that much more powerful because let's say 6 months, 24 weeks, 24 weeks times 7 days, it's what, 168 days. You have the opportunity to make every of those days winning days. And if at the end of your prep, you're like, wow, out of 168 days, I did what need to be done. I won 164, for example, out of 168. Well, chances are that no matter the placing at the end of the day, will you have win your prep? Absolutely. I mean, obviously the X's and O's and when to do the calorie deficit and when to go a bit more aggressive on cardio and things like that, definitely they do matter, right? But in facing those different diet adjustments, etc., if you want those days to help you get closer, well, you can say, you know what? No matter who will be showing up on stage today, am I better than I was last time? Absolutely. Did I win my prep? Absolutely. There's not a trophy that will, it's great to have first place, don't get me wrong, but there's not a trophy that will, or placing that will take that work away from me.
What do you think in terms of percentage of importance has this trifecta when we think about training, nutrition, mindset? Out of these three, what percentage would you give to each one of those when it comes to be the best version of yourself that shows up not just on the stage but on a day-to-day basis?
Can I say 100% each?
That's valid.
Or or I would say 33.3% for each. Because, obviously you're training, you could eat right, you could have like the right mindset, but if you go train, but you're far away from proximity to failure, you're not looking to find a way to progressively overload, you can eat all the food, you can think right, but will you maximize what you could maximize? Not necessarily. If you train hard, have a really good mindset, but like I did in some of my off season, kind of, yeah. Well, are you maximizing? Are you not really? If you're in contest prep, you're training hard, you're not really following your calorie deficit, you're doing half of your cardio, for example, or you're eating like an extra 250 calories. Well, you can train super hard. You can do all the cardio you want. You can tell yourself that everything's going to be awesome. Will you be able to get where you need to be? No. So I feel that it's like really a trifecta. And on the mindset piece, if every day is like a chore and I'm like, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to do this, it will make whatever you make like kind of a living hell. And when we think of longevity in the sport and being consistent, it's going to be really hard to do this. So the the chances to truly maximize your potential, chances will be like pretty slim. So yeah.
How could you make a prep suck less? What are some of your strategies? I don't want to say easier because it's not going to be easier, but
Yes.
to suck less. Maybe strategies that like on the mindset part of it, there are things that you got to do and skills that you got to get in order for you to win every day, as you mentioned before, until the day you compete and beyond. And also, like
Yes.
when thinking about training, what sort of skill sets, what sort of things, strategies are important to keep an eye on and implement that are going to make your life easier and more enjoyable. Because part of being an athlete within you is like you love training, you love
Yes.
exercising, but there's a point in prep that training is no longer fun. It's
Hmm.
just like, shit, I have to go to the gym today. And on top of that, I'm so tired, I'm so hungry, I'm fatigued. Like, there's a point where it becomes more like a chore, and you still need to show up. And on the nutrition part, the same thing. There are going to be aspects that will help you overcome a lot of the things that are going to come up very often, which is hunger, cravings, fatigue, and needing for you to just kind of like eat everything that you have in front of you. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you think in each of these three buckets, strategies that you would say these are going to help you through a much healthier and less soccer
Yeah, no, I see
horrible
what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
place? Yeah.
That's a really good question. I would say that, and I think it's Cliff Wilson that had mentioned that. First of all, it's a choice, right? To especially if you're an experienced competitors and you know like how things will be like in the last 6, 8, sometimes 10 weeks, but you still decide to do it. I think that reminding yourself that, A, you made that choice to do it, um, makes it maybe a little bit easier to navigate through it. The kind of analogy that I'd love to give is, let's say you're about to do a set of 15 on the hack squat, and it's like the fifth or sixth week. The weight on the pegs is pretty heavy, and you know it's going to be like a hack. It's going to suck. Like at rep 10, you're going to be like, oh shit, why am I doing this? Right? Catching up your breath. If you go into it trying to not feel that, or you're like, oh no, my God, I don't want to feel that when I want to feel that when I want to feel that way, it's going to be so much worse compared to if you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be out of breath. I'll need to catch up. It's going to suck, but I'll find a way to finish it. I do feel that it's much more empowering. You're going to be huffing and puffing. It's going to be like the lactate, hydrogen ions, they're going to build up, but you'll know that you'll find a way to get it done. And that's, I think, pretty empowering. So that's the first thing that I would say. The second thing that I would say is that I'll take a personal experience. You were talking about nutrition, being there's sometimes like you're super hungry. Um, there's a couple of rules that I have. Um, First of all, like in my fridge, and Michelle is the same way, towards the end of a prep, there's food that cannot be in the house, right? I'm a really big fan of like Snickers chocolate bar. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. You cannot leave that in my fridge like 8 weeks out, getting ready for a show. It could be something else for someone else, but I feel that keeping your fridge and keeping your food the way with food that won't maybe trigger something, I believe is super important. For some athletes, um, some athletes will love up to a point, obviously in prep, go out, let's say on a Saturday on a restaurant that they know the macros, they've been there often, and have maybe one day of, higher calorie days. For some, it works really well. For other athletes, if you give them that day, it derailed them for, the 4 or 5 days afterwards. So those temptations, if you do feel that as an athlete you might have them, don't go near them. It's like, that's the food that I need to eat. That's the food that will allow me to navigate the difficulty of a calorie deficit and maybe handle cravings better. Stick with that. Um, Also, another thing that I find helpful for me in the afternoon around between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, that's where my willpower and that's where physiological fatigue starts to hit a lot. So I know a lot of people love to do like their cardio, let's say first thing in the morning. For me, I position my cardio there. So this way, it's a really nice way to, at 2 o'clock, finish my last call. I'm feeling a little bit zombie, prepare my drink, walk to my scooter, scoot to the gym, walk up the stairs. I save 25 minutes. I do my hour of cardio, whatever. I come back. 2 hours later, I'm back. I walked over that window or cardio over that window, so to speak. So then, oh, it makes it easier from 4 to 8 to finish the day in a productive way. So sometimes just mixing things up a little bit in terms of where you choose to train, etc., can be, can be helpful. Same with weight training. Some people really efficient first thing in the morning, train hard. Other people doesn't work that way, need to shift it. In terms of energy in the gym. Energy in the gym in terms of the amount of weight that you're going to be able to push at the gym. I don't know about you, Astrid, but oftentimes in prep, it's a matter of getting to the gym, starting your warm up. And then once you start, you're kind of okay, right? But when you're at home, you're sitting and you're like, oh man, leg day, 6 weeks out. Oh shit. Man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. If you remember that the last time you walked to the gym or took your car to the gym, you started to warm up on the bike or whatever your warm up is, and then you started to warm up under, the leg press, that you were okay, just remind yourself that even though you might not believe it at the moment, experience shows you that, hey, you're going to be fine. Just go and you're going to be okay. Oftentimes it's just a matter of get going, get there, and you'll be fine. And the last thing I would say is I think a training log is super important because I do find that, I don't know if you're like me, Astrid, but when it's written down, I have to do it. It's like, oh, it says 550 on the leg press. Okay, I'm going to try to do like 550 on the leg press. And obviously, in prep, maybe your level of strength, especially at 4 or 5 weeks out, is going to be a little bit different. But just having something written down is a really good way to keep yourself, accountable to what needs to be done. And sometimes switching also the, I'm one of those athletes that when I'm get closer to a show, my strengths will diminish, right? But instead of being frustrated by that and be like, damn, my strength diminishes, I'm like, okay, I'll try to minimize as much as I can, maybe the loss of performance that I would get. So this way, I'm trying to find a way to win. So I don't go into a defeat. I'm like, okay, I know it's gonna happen. Let's just change the parameter of what I think could be a success and work with that and be okay with that. I don't know if it answers your question. I would now, as I'm talking, there's a lot of things that are coming to my mind, but those are some of the things that I think could be helpful to apply.
I have so many things in my mind as well.
Okay.
Now, um, I think, yes, in terms of training, like for example, to me
Hmm.
was I don't have to hit a PR. I just
Hmm.
need to push myself where I am training closer to failure. So in my mind,
Yes.
it was like I don't need to hit, like I have to leave the ego on the side and just
Hmm.
go and do how I feel my best pushing against those weights, that I'm pushing myself, that I am putting my 100%, even if
Yes.
I'm not necessarily hitting higher numbers as before. Like I know that I can't expect that from me at the moment, but just continue to push closer to my 8 to 10 RIR, like really trying to push myself hard. Now, in terms of fatigue management, which is something
Yes.
that probably is a very weak point for a lot of athletes, that they think that more is better, or they don't deserve to rest enough because maybe it just brings some guilt, or think that they're leaving with like gains on the table if they're not taking, if they're not going to the gym consistently 7 days a week, or if they're not doing cardio every single day. what
Hmm.
what are your main thoughts and in terms of your experience or what you do with yourself and with your athletes, how important is fatigue management? What sort of strategies do you implement in order for you to be very, very good at that specific skill?
Yeah, I think it's I guess I'll use the word double-edged sword.
Mm,
And the reason I say this is because, and I'm sure you've experienced it, Astrid, towards the end, especially when you try to get that half a pound or get that new glute line or like that little striation on the abs, it's gonna suck. Right? It's gonna hurt. Like you said, you'll be hungry. Sometimes you'll be cold. Sometimes you're gonna stand up. Whoa, you stood up like a little bit too quickly. Those things will, I think those things will happen. So there's kind of a fine line. So that will happen, right? I do feel that data could be useful. So for example, if an athlete, let's say 2, 3 consecutive weigh-ins like daily starts to really go back up, and with speaking with the athlete, there's, let's say, tremendous inflammation like in the lower half or in the lower body. Oh, okay, it could be a sign that we pushed it a little too much. So we need to back off a little bit. And I do think that this piece will be important, especially taper phase, 2 weeks out, if body fat is where it's supposed to be, and especially in peak week, right? Um, but I guess some of the technique, sometimes just a 1 day off of cardio, for example, could do the trick. For other athletes, might be instead of doing 3 sets per exercise, for instance, let's go for 2 for the next 2, 3 days. And in terms of rate of perceived exertion, instead of working at RP 8 or 9, let's go at 5 or 6 or 7. Sometimes I feel that if you're able to kind of keep the status quo, but take enough so that they're able to recover, usually it it seems to work pretty well. Um, it could be, so that's on the training side. Sometimes it could be a little bit more food for 1 or 2 meals. That's the trick. Other athletes might need, okay, a day where we need extra calorie on that day, knowing that, oh, it might slow down our rate of fat loss for 1 or 2 days, but it's going to pay off. Like it's going to be a slingshot effect, and we're going to be able to start losing again after that fatigue is managed. So again, on the training front, usually like a slight reduction. And if your athlete maybe is ahead of time, you could say, you know what, no cardio for the next 2 days. Just do steps. You're on track. We can see that there's clear signs of, we need to manage fatigue. Take off your cardio. You'll be fine. That will do the trick. For some, it might be, hey, for the next 3 or 4 days, I need you to stop going to the gym, minimal steps, and that's the strategy that will work for that athlete, because maybe fatigue accumulated a little too much than what you maybe expected. So I think it's a case by case, and every athlete will be different.
How many variables from biofeedback do you pay attention to when it comes to, and how often when it comes to working with an athlete? And maybe how much difference is if you were to work with someone who's not necessarily competing, someone who just needs to modify, improve their body composition. Is there much difference between the variables that you pay attention to when you're working with an athlete who is in prep, um, versus someone who is just a gen pop?
Yeah, I would say that, an athlete getting ready for a show um, has to get it done kind of no matter what. There's a date. They're going to be in a very small piece of clothing on stage. Either it's a brief for a guy or bikini for a gal. Eyes are on them. They want to improve. They want to bring something fantastic. There's a deadline. You need to find a way. For someone that will be Gen Pop, for example, if you have like a professional, busy professional, like they have a business trip, or for a week, the number of hours that they will need to devote for work will impact their recovery. Yeah, like instead of giving them 5 training days a week, give them three, for example, so they're able to still be efficient at what they do in life, give them appropriate recovery, and then when they do train, they feel they feel energized. They feel that they're in a great spirit when they train, and because there's not that deadline in 4 weeks or 6 weeks time, there's more leeway in terms of how you can navigate the situation of fatigue. I'm not going to tell a professional, well, hey, I know you're busy. Tell your boss or tell the contractor that hired you to not make you work as much. It doesn't work like that, right? So definitely if I could give them like a little bit more leeway so that they're able to manage everything, I might tell myself, hey, okay, maybe for a week or two, we're gonna lose a little bit of steam. Maybe they will need to go in maintenance with their calories because handling the calorie deficit will be a bit more challenging. I'm okay with that because we don't have that hard deadline at the end. So I would say that would be the main difference between the two.
If we take on aside the fatigue management and we just look at the overall variables that you look for when you're trying to assess how things are going, how the body overall is responding to the plan, whether
Yes.
it's nutrition, training, everything that is that package. What are some of those variables that you pay attention to? Cravings, energy, mood, hunger, sleep, performance. What are some of those, and which
Yeah.
ones for
Yeah.
you are the most important ones?
Yes. Great question. I think that I think that sudden cravings. So let's say you have an individual that doesn't particularly like have cravings, and suddenly, whoa, it skyrockets. And let's say for a gal, she's not like in a PMS zone or she's not in that time of the month, and then all of a sudden, like her craving is super high. It's like, okay, might be a sign that there's a little bit too much fatigue appearing. Sudden weight gain, you're like, oh, okay, like everything is going to plan. The person follows everything. There's no, you get to know your athletes, right? And you know that they're on point, and then boom, weight goes up out of the blue and it stays up. Might be something there. Um, Digestion goes out of whack. With that in mind, digestion could be like a little bit more tricky because for some, naturally towards the end of the prep, especially with the calorie restriction, digestion could be a little bit more tricky. But if it's much more than usual, okay, that could be a sign that there might a need for fatigue management. Training performance drastically diminished. So let's say you have an athlete like me where you expect that there might not be a gain in performance and maybe even like a slight decrease. But if for consecutive days it's like way, way down, well, okay, there might be a cost for fatigue management. Heaviness in the legs. Let's say you
Mm.
do your steps and it's so hard just to walk outside when you do your steps. Okay, that could be a sign that there's a need of fatigue management that will need to happen. So I could think of others, but those are the mains that I'll be. Oh, the last one would be your athlete does everything to a T, everything to a T, introduce a new calorie deficit because there's a need to. They do everything right, and you're like, wait a second, they should have lost here. Like, mathematically, we should have observed like a weight loss. There's none. Well, there might be a need for fatigue management strategy as well to happen.
And I agree, because it could be that the person is still losing body fat, like they're
Yes.
clearly in a calorie deficit. And I see this
Yes.
from my own experience, because
Mm,
I could see myself, my body was changing week after week. But there was a point where my weight was actually like going on the other direction, like, what the fuck? Like
Yeah. Yes.
I'm looking fucking better. Like there's no way. Like and then the scale obviously is kind of like the
Says
only
otherwise.
some like, is giving you indications of like, hey, something is wrong, and you think that you are doing something wrong or like you're
Yes.
messing something up. But actually, like I was doing the best I could, and I was being compliant. I was doing my calorie deficit, and I know that there could be other factors. Obviously, we
Yes.
have like water retention. You mentioned something that's very, very true. Digestion gets very, very sluggish.
Hmm.
And a lot of athletes, in my case, like I would have constipation, like horrible, like I could be something that was not normal for me. Like I would be
Yeah.
normally just on a regular basis, no issues, regular bowel movements. Now with the sluggishness, I was really struggling. And so because I also like as athletes, we want to work a lot with hunger management. We eat high volume foods, high fiber.
Yes.
I was
Hmm.
eating a lot of vegetables. Like I could literally just weigh an extra kilo after
Yes.
after just having a meal for lunch because it was like a big stir fry of veggies. That on its own was already like 800 grams of vegetables. Like that's how
Yeah.
much I can fit in my stomach or more. So like if you kind of like rationalize why the weight was up, like that would give me some peace of mind because I
Hmm.
I know that I'm doing everything right. Like, and I clearly can see changes, but
Yes.
it's very tricky when you like mathematically, like numbers, the digits don't really show what you are doing. And so it's just relying on other things that can give you more signs that you're in the in the right track.
Yeah, and it's great that you mentioned that, and I feel that this is where either like a second pair of eyes, or if someone is working with a coach that knows some of the tendencies that we could, that an athlete can have, um, and also that is kind of detached of the situation, that is able to look at your photos and say, hey, exactly like you said, there's still fat loss happening in the background. This what we see on the scale is like a little bit, hey, hi, is it? I love these things. There's a little bit of, water retention kind of happening in the background, probably because there's fatigue management that needs to happen. And I would say, from an athlete standpoint, when you're like, oh wow, it could be that, so taking the day off could be a good idea, and someone else make that call for you, you're like, ah, all right, thank God, I'll take that day off. Where areas sometimes if you just be on your own, you would be like, I know I need to do more cardio. I need to, where sometimes it is you have to do more cardio, but in this specific case, no, you might just need to actually rest, right? So that's really interesting that you share that piece.
Um, I want
Mhm.
to know a bit more about the side of your family that I'm sort of like in love with what you have built in terms of like you moved to Tulum, you build your own gym, you have this amazing facility, you train with your wife who competes as well. She's a trainer as well, and your stepmom, like she did a huge, amazing transformation. Tell me a little bit more about your family. Tell me more about Michelle, um, and your stepmom, John. Like, just talk to me a bit more about that beautiful family you've got.
Well, yeah, I would say that Joan and Michelle always had like this fantastic connection between each other. Every activities Michelle as a teenager would be in, Joan would be the one there supporting her. Michelle went through a little bit of a rougher period something that she discussed about in the past. Joan was there always to support her, right? So I think that they really had that bonding. And I would say that at the start of Joan's transformation, it was really, Michelle really had a heart to heart with her mom. Joan was the type of person that would love to go into her garden, do some gardening like the entire days, and be really active. And towards the end of her, I'll say her old life, walking up the stairs, she would always complain about her knees. Like she wanted to, sell the house because she was not able to garden anymore. And they had that sit down, that moment when Michelle said, "Hey, I'm an expert. I help people, I help women finding their strength again. Mom, we need to do something." And that moment, Joan said, "I'm done. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." And that's where it all started for her. And I would say that witnessing that transformation that was not easy at first, um, has been pretty epic. And some of the challenge as well. Joan was what, 71, 72? iPhone, apps, macro app, training log. It was like all new learning for her, right? Yeah, she had the will to change, but there were obstacles along the way that she were challenging, right, to face. But seeing the perseverance, seeing every time there was an obstacle, her and Michelle would find a way, um, to go over those obstacles and see the changes has just been amazing. And you know, now in 2025, we're the three of us together here in Tulum, and 7:30 in the morning, Joan never missed. Bye guys, going to the gym. She pedals to the gym, 15 minutes, go to her gym, evolve, does her training. We get to the gym, she finishes. Bye guys, take her bike, comes home. It's kind of surreal, if that makes sense, to just be like, wow, she's 78. Like she's in Mexico. She's biking to the gym, biking to the grocery store. Like it's literally part of her. And look, every time we're going somewhere, it doesn't matter if it's Mexico, it doesn't matter if it's somewhere in the States, it doesn't matter if it's somewhere in Canada. The three of us walking together, people come to us, "Oh, you're Joan? Oh my God." And we have the drill. I'm like, "Michelle, go beside Joan. What's your name?" "Nancy, nice to meet you. Give me a camera." Taking a Joan is the celebrity. So we're just there like to this, but it's just beautiful to see, you know, the hope that Joan is giving. Like at any age, you're able to change. Any age, it's never too old. If you say, "Hey, no, I'm gonna do this first step today," she's the proof that she can make it happen. And what's great is that all generations could be inspired by Joan. Like the 20-year-old can look at her and be like, "Whoa, she lost 70 pounds like at the age of 70. Wow, I can do it." It's the 40-year-old looking at your mom and saying, "Mom, take care of your health. Look at Joan." Both of them can be inspired, right? And celebrate their journey through Michelle and Joan. And I do think that that message is pretty wild and fantastic to see. So
It's beautiful because, as you said, the old generations can see that age or aging doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to a nursing home, or
yes.
that you have to be frail and with no muscle and just depend on someone else to do your things. That you can actually
100%.
be as strong as you are now, provided that you can just change your mindset and you can do the things that are going to align with the way you want to become and the way you want to look and age, whether you are 25, whether you are 40 or 80s or 70s. Like, you can still make a lot of changes. And I
Yes.
think a lot of things that just keep and hold people back is that belief that, oh no, I'm too old for that, or no, that's for younger people. And I understand that there could be obviously few more limitations around
Mhm.
your physical strength, their capacity of recovery, but all of those things are acquired and can get better, because all of those things are adaptations. If you're not an athlete, if you're someone who has never trained, there's going to be a big change that's going to happen,
Yes.
but it will happen if you commit to it, if you're consistent, if you just keep at trying to make and do your best on a regular basis consistently. You'll get there. And I think that was some of the things that probably John can show. She was consistent. She had
Yes.
she had huge amount of things coming against her in terms of technology, in terms of huge learning curves that she probably was very overwhelmed at the very beginning. And I
Yes.
guess Michelle was a big support, and like really getting, hey, this will be hard, but we can do this. There's nothing that you cannot do, provided that you set up your mind for it. And let's just keep doing things. I help you with what you need, but let's go. If you're tired, rest, get up,
Mhm.
keep going. And it's just that empowerment and the importance of that John said, I'm sick of being sick. I want to
Yes.
change. I want to become someone else. That person that is no longer having pain in their knees, is no longer feeling tired all the time, feeling like shit. So I love the story, and hopefully I can get to speak to her one day and your
For
wife.
sure.
But I think
Hmm.
this is just so inspiring, because it hurts when I see women over 50 say, no, I'm done. Like, I'm
Yes.
too old. No, you're not.
No,
You
you're not.
just, there's so much life in you. There's so much life. And you're the one who is just pushing it away with
Yeah.
that attitude, with those beliefs.
Yeah. I agree. And I do feel that Joan is like a Trojan horse that way. Um, because, like you said, the 50-year-old that says, I'm too old for this. I started at 71, right? Like you said, with a huge learning curve and with the difficulty, at the start. And like she loves to say, if I can make it happen, you can make it happen. And reclaiming your identity back also. Joan was always someone from the first time that I knew, always positive, always smiling, always encouraging, always supportive. But towards the end, Astrid, before she started her transformation, she'll be the first one to admit that she was not really fun to be around. Always like, what's up, guys? Yeah, yeah, good to see you. And like on the phone, like the conversations were like, yeah, no, things are the same. Yeah, no, things are pretty similar as they are. And now seeing her smiling, laughing, exchanging, having a blast, taking photos, going to cenotes, it's just like, who, like that woman, she came back, she definitely reclaimed that. And, for some individuals that maybe going to the gym, it's not necessarily their thing, totally okay. She'll be the first one to say, do you love to dance? Do you love to swim? Do you love to walk? Yeah, do more of that. Start there. You're walking once a week and you're like, it makes me feel so good when I walk, but I just like do it once a week. Do it 3 times a week. Or like, for the next week, try 2 times. Week number 3, 3 times. Do like a little progressive overload of the number of walks that you do per week. You love to swim. Go twice. Call a friend who loves to swim as well, or make new friends at the community center you go to. But find something that you love to do, and great things will come with consistency.
Consistency to me is this word that is so underrated for a lot of people. And like that is just the best way I could describe my life. Like, just
Mm,
so brutally consistent in something
yes.
that you don't have to be perfect. You probably
Yes.
won't be able to be perfect anyways.
Perfect. Oh,
So
I thought okay. It's news to me, but no. Teasing.
you always can
Hmm.
aim to do your 100%. And there
Yes.
will be times that you will nail it and be 100% on top of it. But not
Yeah.
every day you will
Not every
have
day.
that. But if you just do something instead of nothing, this is my motto with my clients, as with myself, all or
Yeah.
something instead of all or nothing.
Oh, I
That's
love that.
much, much better.
That's really awesome. And I'll piggyback on Joan again. She'll be the first one to say, "Hey, I'm not perfect. Like sometimes, whoop, I forgot to, she'll be, whoops, I forgot to enter my macro like for one meal or, but has she been consistent? Absolutely. Has she been doing a lot more good things that will allow her to be where she is now over time? 100%. And like you said, I love that. How is it? All or something, if you apply that over time, wow, greatness will come. 100%.
Just changing that mindset that people have,
Hmm.
all or something,
Yes, all or something.
replace it. Use that and
Yeah.
completely eliminate that all or nothing mindset. That's it.
Hmm.
That will just make a huge difference in your life if you just do
I,
that change.
I agree. But you'll need to hashtag that. I'll
I
make a
definitely
shirt.
will.
All or something. All or something.
A shirt. JJ, what are some upcoming projects for you? I know you mentioned about the show that you're organizing,
Yes.
but beyond that, over the next couple of months, when do you start prep?
Yeah. So the show, if you allow me briefly, we're gonna have like workshops coming up, obviously, both in Playa and in Cancun, the Cancun area. So for people that love to learn more about FMG, I think it's gonna be great. Me as an athlete, I would say around I have my sights for mid-April to slowly start the transition towards the stage. So from now until then, uh, still in my off season. And I don't know about you, but I kind of love prep, um, or I call it the final calorie deficit leading to stage, um, because it requires so much organization, um, because it requires you have a laundry to-do list of things to do like every day. It forces me like to be super focused, super organized, and this is where I do some of my best work. So I'm kind of looking forward to that time actually. Like maybe ask me the last 4 weeks, I'll be like, yeah, Astrid, yes, things are great. But for the majority of it, I really look forward to it. And it's going to be that's going to be a big project itself. I have athletes that will be getting ready both in April and in August, April, June, and August. So on the coaching side, pretty busy. So yeah, plenty of things to do.
It's like a love-hate relationship with prep because you suffer in a
Yeah,
way, but in another ways, that's what I experienced with my first ever prep last year.
yeah.
It was
Hmm.
like I feel so focused and so committed. Like it's a powerful drive for you to show up and be organized and just really do the things that you know that you have to do that are going to have an end result at the end of your prep. But at the same time, you are putting the effort, you're putting your mind, you're putting your focus, you're putting your heart, all of these things like truly give you like a purpose. And
Yes.
at the same time, is is that part of you that some of these things bring a personal development as well? It brings something new in you that you didn't know that now you're kind of like learning about. To me was I want to bring that feminine part of me that I've never been able to do on my own. Like
Mm-hmm.
just nails. Like this to me was
Yeah.
never happened. Like I wasn't like a tomboy as such, but I would never wear or use long nails. Like this is to me is like this is
Yes.
a byproduct of this first prep, and that's positive.
Yes.
Or
Mm-hmm.
like just feel more
100%.
confident about myself, or just be more dedicated or more feminine in certain areas, or like learning to walk on heels,
Yes.
posing, like all of those things are new to me, but I think that added a nice part within my personality and within who I am now. And like that's something I'm interested to discover in this next prep.
Yeah.
What will I learn? What I'm like interested to see what comes out of this next opportunity. So I don't know. It's interesting. Love hate
I
relationship.
love hate, but I love that it's oftentimes in times of challenge that you find a level of strength that you kind of didn't think you had, right? And I feel that obviously like a prep is an imposed challenge. Like you choose to do that, you choose to go into a calorie deficit, you choose to, okay, at some point I'm going to be tired, right? But I love it because for me personally, I I'm kind of amazed of wow, I can do a lot, right? I can do a lot in situations where wow, I'm tired, but I'm still able to function. I'm still able to accomplish things. And there's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of pride that comes from the fact that um, in a tough situation, I'm still able to do kind of what needs to be done in the different areas in my life, not only bodybuilding, but also when I look back, I'm like, wow, I gain a lot of confidence from what I've accomplished, right? In situations where things were really challenging, I discovered like new strength or a new facet of my personality that I'm like, wow, okay, whatever else challenging that will come in my life, I will adopt I'm going to reverse engineer, I'm going to win the day, I'm going to face challenges as they come, but I have tangible proof because I just did it that I'll probably be able to be successful in whatever way success means for that piece. So I do feel that from every prep on that aspect of self, there's a growth that happens and carryovers to all aspects of my life. And I do find that phenomenal. And what you just shared in terms of like the feminine side of me and walking in heels and the posture and the nail polish and all of that is phenomenal. And it came from the all right, gotta post it. We could see it only as, yeah, you gotta post to be on stage. True, but you can see it as, yeah, but because I had to learn how to present myself on stage in this polished manner, I gained so much from it in my own personal life, which those are phenomenal lessons that comes from bodybuilding.
The thing is, when you first start, at
Hmm.
least in my own journey, when I started, I try to imagine and visualize myself on stage, and I couldn't see it. Like it was
Mm.
so blurry. It was like I don't see myself on stage. I can't visualize it because I've never been there. But I am also not. I haven't become that person yet. I have to become that person. So
Yes.
every time that I was, every month, every week, every day of prep, like who do I need to become? What do I need to do?
Hmm.
Who is that person who's going to show on that day? What do
Yes.
what do I need to do so I can start seeing that like 12 weeks out? That I started 40 weeks out.
Yeah, I remember. Hmm.
12 weeks out, I can see her. Like I could
Mm.
actually close my eyes and walk
Visualize
on
it.
a stage and see myself on posing and see myself truly doing something that I couldn't see before. And then at that point I knew I am becoming her. Like I am very, very close. So
Yes.
it is not just a show day. It is the journey.
Hmm.
It is a
It is the
transformation.
journey.
It is the mindset, the physical changes, but also like, to me, was that experience, that growth that a lot of people just blame because of, yes, the dieting is really hard. It is
Hmm.
restrictive. And if you're not strong enough, if you're not strategic enough, there's a risk of eating disorders. There
Hmm.
is, and there is like a dark side of it, especially after show and
Yeah.
in the first 6 weeks out. You can really mess things up really badly if you don't have the support, if you don't have the strategies around you. I did a lot of deep work before
Hmm.
in order for me to
Yes.
do this successfully. But there is a lot more positives beyond that if you know how to do things right. So I
I agree.
definitely like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's nice.
That could be it's interesting you saying that because I guess the post-show aspect could be a podcast on its own. The all the positive you gain from that experience could be an entire podcast on its own as well. There's a
I
lot,
totally agree.
there's a lot to uncover for sure. A lot of
I
beautiful things.
agree.
Hmm.
JJ, thank you so much for being here today. It was amazingly a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank
And
you so much, Astrid.
I think I will have you back, and we'll have another second part on the post show and maybe a few more things
Yeah,
around actual coaching, training, prep, nutrition. We definitely can do that if you're up for it.
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, it's a true honor. Like I'm part of the list of the guests of like people that I look at and I'm like, wow, that person is amazing. You're amazing. So such a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. This will be out very soon,
Yes,
and let's do another one soon too.
let's do another one soon.
Awesome. All right. Have a beautiful day, beautiful weekend, and I'll talk
Yes,
to you very soon.
absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Goodbye.